I give a fuck? Why do I give a fuck? Why do I try so hard? Why do I care so much?
Welcome to Why Do I Give a Fuck? A cross-cultural conversation between myself, Deanne Tate,
and Johanna Thompson. In these times of great struggle and possible shift, we ask ourselves,
why do we give a fuck about any of it? How does the lens we see the world through impact what we see?
And what do we do about it?
Hey, 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 hey.
Are we live? Are we actually live right now?
We are actually live. I'm so excited. This is so exciting. Yeah, we've got sound effects and I keep forgetting about that. So
How exciting. This is so much fun to be live.
I know. We're celebrating our 2-year anniversary today. And today is actually the 2-year anniversary. It is the day that we posted our very first episode. So happy anniversary to you.
Happy anniversary. It's always fun to be in celebration, especially in the moments where, you know, the world is hectic right now. And so finding moments of like place to have joy and to be in celebration and to know that we're doing the good work. So I'm happy to be here at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, we have one viewer.
Oh, yay. Hey, if anybody is out there and is watching, especially on YouTube, if you're watching on Instagram, we are live on both platforms, but we can't see your comments on Instagram. So hop on over to YouTube. And when you're over there, please, like and subscribe and join us in the chat because we want to hear where you're from. We want to know, how long you've been listening maybe, and want to know what you give a fuck about because
that's the point.
That is the point, isn't it?
We're out here today trying to figure out what other people are what they give a fuck about. And if you could share it to bring on some of your friends and colleagues so that they can share what their thoughts are as well. And what we're planning to do for this episode while we're live is to kind of talk about some of the things that we love about doing this work together, and some of the crazy things that we've talked about, some of the very serious things that we've talked about, some of the laughs that we've had, and a lot of the aha moments that I've experienced in conversation with you and in friendship with you. So
yeah, I'm thinking back to when we first started talking about doing this and all the conversations. We had lots of conversations before we finally got.
Was it like 2 years before even getting to a place where we're like, we really need to make sure that.
It might have been close to 2 years, yeah, because we were working together and then knew that was coming to a close. And I don't remember. I think it might have been me that first said to you, I was like, I don't want to stop talking. I mean, I knew we were going to have a friendship, but I also didn't want to stop having because we had really great discussions all the time, it seemed. And I didn't want to stop with those discussions. So I think the podcast came to mind, but then it took a while to figure it out.
We had a lot of iterations because as we were doing the work that we were doing, the peace building work that we were doing, we recognized how important it was for people from different perspectives, experiences to have these conversations. And so we talked within that organization about having groups come together and like do these conversations. And then we did the podcast with the restorative justice, myself and Q and you, and then you did your podcast. And it was just like, this is an opportunity for us to take the wonderful conversations that we're having. And especially because it was a time where it's always a time on U.S. territory when there is
there is no shortage of topics to talk about.
But this is a really good opportunity to have, a Black woman and a white woman be talking about the issues, current events, and, critical things that we're experiencing and how we're coming to it, just to give voice to what was really popular to be having, what folks were calling uncomfortable conversations and naming it all of these things that in a woke era, a woke moment, So yeah, it's really great. I see a comment from
Yeah, look, that's my friend Emma. Hi, Emma. Um, so glad that you are watching. Glad that you're with us. And yeah, I mean, we knew that we knew that we wanted to keep the conversations going, but we also knew that we wanted it was an opportunity to model something, right? Remember those
that's important.
discussions, that because we had deep dialogues about things and we had grown a level of trust with each other that, if I overstepped or I said something that was mighty white of me or whatever, you were able to like
Mighty
call
White.
me in and yes, mighty white. Um, and it just was an opportunity to model that. So I remember when we were first talking about what it was going to look like and how we were going to, I mean, we were super intentional about everything. Remember, it was like
Mm.
creating the picture of the two of us together,
Mhm.
where your picture was going to be and where mine was going to be, that your name was always going to come first. That was all super like intentional
Intentionally.
and meant a lot to me to make sure that we did, um, you know, was mindful about all of that. And yeah, we did have lots of back and forth about what it was going to be called. I mean, remember, it took
You
us
sure
forever to
did.
find the name. It took
and,
us
and,
forever
and,
to find
and,
the
and
name.
building out the acronym, with the Y, because IDIGAF is something that is like folks use as colloquialism, on all of this technology and
Right.
YouTube. But
Right.
you're able to add that Y in there and give it a little bit of our pizzazz for it.
Well, and I remember you were, you might, if you feel like
Mhm.
sharing, I remember you feeling maybe a little angst about the name when I
I
found the
know.
song. What that was where the name came from, was the song. I found the
Yes.
song first on, on a free, website for music. And I was like, well, what about this name? And you were like, oh, I don't know.
At first, I was like, "Ugh," I don't, because when you come and you put yourself out there in a public way, you think about what the scrutiny would look like, and then you're also thinking about how things will be received. And as
Yeah.
a Black identified woman, I'm like, okay, I have this title. People from my community, folks that are really, faith based and church going, are they going to even be receptive to it? It's going to be such an aha moment. And there was a lot of like responsiveness initially with that, but as folks got interested in what we were talking about, they realized that it makes sense to be able to name it the way. And then all things came together so organically. And I love when it's easy, because when it's easy, that means that the doors are open and it's
It
right. It's
did.
right to do. So
It
yeah.
did, and we started just audio because we were like, we can't, let's not bite off too much of the elephant and choke. So we started just doing audio, and we started. Remember, we started every other week. We weren't
Yes.
even sure we had the capacity to do every week, and so we were like, well, let's start, a little slower and just do every other week. And it wasn't long before we came on, we were kind of revisiting our titles to remind ourselves of all the things we've talked about.
There's some great.
And I was reminded that we started doing the video version of it about 8 episodes in, but remember, we were only doing it every 2 weeks. So it felt like we went a lot longer just doing the audio, but that's when I started making the thumbnails for the YouTube. So I know that that's when we started, but um
And the
and then
conversation started to get really good and
oh, they
really
did.
started to be
They did.
so much fun having. So we thought, okay, let's move it into a week. What were some of the best and most exciting episodes that you remember recording,
Mm.
or some like the topics that were exciting?
Oh gosh, there were so many. A lot of times when we come, fun fact, background kind of info behind the scenes, a lot of times we don't even know what we're going to talk about when we come together, right? We just,
Most of the time.
we say, what do you have to talk about today? What's on your mind
And what's
today?
happening in the world?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then or we'll think we're gonna talk about something, and then it morphs into something else, like,
Curveball.
halfway through, and
Mhm.
I'm sure our listeners know that because you 'cause you're following our train of thought, but, I really liked the intro, episode that we did
Okay.
because we
You always
realized
say
that nobody knew who we were, right? And and so we thought it would be important for folks to have a chance to kinda get to know who we are, and we played that game. Remember the game of,
"Ooh,
If You
yes,
Really
of
Knew
course."
Me? And, So yeah, I liked that episode, and have heard, when folks find us for the first time, I invite anybody that's listening, if you haven't gone back and listened, you can only listen to it. There's no video version of it, but if you go back and listen to our introductory episode, if you didn't get a chance, because some people come into the middle of a podcast and they don't go back and revisit. So, but I've got a lot of feedback from folks that really appreciated that episode. So that's one that stands out for me for sure.
Well,
What
let's
about
give
you?
them a little bit of a replay right now, and let's do just like one. If you really knew me, you would know what?
Of me or you?
In this moment now, like, 2 years later.
Oh,
Not to put you on the spot or anything.
no, I know. I know. We don't want dead air, but if you really knew me, you would know that I am blissfully happy in my marriage and never thought that would happen again, ever. To me. I'm not even going to say again, because it's better this time around than it's ever been. So that's a
Yay.
big one for me right now.
Blissfully happy. That's
Blissfully
magnificent.
happy.
Those are good words. Those are good words.
How about you?
If you really knew me, you would know that I'm going to use some of your language. I am blissfully happy when I'm not on U.S. territory.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that people can hear that in some
Yeah.
of the ways that we talk about things in our episodes. But yes,
Yeah.
in this
I do
moment. So
know
I'm
that.
trying to get back there. Right now, I'm currently on U.S. territory, and I'm trying to find opportunities and ways to be off the U.S. territory and doing good work outside of places, because I feel like I've done a lot of good work and planted a lot of seeds here. And if there's opportunities that come up to help kind of guide the next generation of people, then I'm excited to be doing that. But
yes,
I can also go now and experience other cultures and other ways of life, and love on some people that have a different upbringing than we do here. It would be so fantastic.
that would be wonderful. Well, we're going to manifest. We're going to put it out there. Jay is
That's why I'm saying it out loud.
Gainful employment.
To
And so if anybody out there is listening and knows of a job opportunity that would be a good fit, please reach out. You can always email us at YDIGAF24@gmail.com if you want to hit us up and let Jay know what opportunities might be out there for her. We're manifesting that for her, for sure.
It's not like you don't know me.
Yep.
So let me tell you some of my really exciting episodes, like ones that I loved. Of course, I loved because I love learning new things, and so I really appreciated when we went over the KKK manifesto, like just learning and seeing like the alignment with how we're existing today, and like some of the ways that people were thinking back then, and seeing how that's really being elevated in ICE today. And so having that knowledge and history, those are the things that you don't get to learn in school. You don't get to go over, you don't get to analyze, you don't get to, identify how we could do things differently. So I really appreciated that. I love anytime we have an aha moment where there is like oh, I didn't know that. And for the first time, that's something to think about. That's always fun to experience that in our conversations. What else did I love talking about? Another fun opportunity that we had, though it was like traumatic to be going through, is as we were going through this new administration's election process, and all of the conversations that we had, all of the predictions that we made, all of kind of like the thoughts of like being able to highlight and amplify that folks are going to be really intentional about pushing forward Project 2025, and that we could have those conversations about what that would look like, especially the impact on, a Black woman and a white woman as that's coming. So I really enjoy that we have that kind of recorded in history to be thinking about.
Yeah.
And of course, whenever we're talking about the new things that are going on, like that's always exciting to me. Like, tell me what happened. Because when I was, on the island in Jamaica, there was a lot of times where things were happening, and then I would get on this conversation with you, and you would tell me, and I would be like, oh, I like the life I live a lot better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was often the bearer of not so great news.
Of US news. Which
Yeah,
can be hard to
yeah. I do the consuming, which is
yeah.
also on some level intentional.
Mhm.
That just taking on that burden and not,
I
you
see.
know, not expecting you to be saturating yourself with all of that is also intentional for me. Um, so
We
yeah,
appreciate whoever
yeah,
the next viewer is. I'm noticing that and not to cut you off, but I did cut you off. I
that's
apologize.
okay.
I just want to
I've cut
acknowledge.
you off plenty of times, so yeah. So
I'm
no
seeing that
worries.
we have a second viewer, so this is exciting, being our first time going live with YDIGAF.
Yeah, yeah. Thank
We
you for
are
joining
enjoying
us,
it.
Emma, and thank you for the congratulations on 2 years. I
Yes.
cannot believe it's been 2 years. That just goes by so fast. We're glad you're here. Drop in the comments, both Emmas, we've got 2 Emmas on here.
Okay.
Where are you guys watching us from? We would love to know where in the world you are. Um, yeah, I was thinking about, the ramp up to the election was where we
Mhm.
decided to start going every week. Remember that it just
Yes.
felt like things were happening so fast that only doing an episode every 2 weeks felt like it just felt like the pace was way too
Mm.
sloth-like. Nothing against sloths, love them, but yeah, it felt like we needed to speed up the pace a little bit. So that's when we went to every week, and then we really started to get a cadence of people that were listening. And I was writing down some of the statistics, I guess, of our listeners, because we of course, as most people know, we have the audio version of this is available on all of the platforms that you can get your audio versions. And then we have the video version on YouTube. And it's
Okay.
interesting because we have over 40 countries represented in our listenership
Me
on the
too.
audio platforms,
And
which
one of
is
the
really
Emmas is calling in from New Haven, occupied and
excellent. New
in our
Haven,
land.
Connecticut.
So, yay!
Yep.
Thank you for
And
letting us
and
know
our
that.
other Emma is calling in from or list watching us from I'm not going to pronounce it right. Wickemacong
Oh,
territory. I hope I
yeah.
did that justice. In
Wonderful.
so-called Muskogo, Ontario, Canada, on Turtle Island. So
All
I
right.
appreciate that land acknowledgement there.
Absolutely.
Um, oh
Welcome.
yeah, and New Haven was AKA occupied Quinnipiac Wappinger land. So
And I'm
um,
curious, like, are people identifying the indigenous people whose land they're getting to enjoy as a result of listening to our podcast and seeing that we make those acknowledgments, or is that something that was like integral to the way that they were already existing and recognizing that it was important to acknowledge the land?
yeah, drop in the comments. I would love to hear that. Um, and getting circling back to our listeners and the difference in our viewership. So on YouTube, it's
Yeah.
mostly USians that are watching, which I think is really interesting.
Mhm.
I'd love for us to break into some of that international watchers on YouTube. But we had our very first listener from the continent the other day from South Africa. So that is listening to the audio version of the podcast. I was so excited to finally break into to the continent, but we've gotten over 40 countries scattered all over the globe. So it's been exciting to see those numbers grow. So
Yeah,
shout out to
I
everybody
want you to
that's
run the
listening
list
from
because
all
it's
over.
always, yeah, I want you to run the list because it's always fun to hear that. And also acknowledging that Emma is saying that there's a land claim on lands adjacent to where I live. And so that is one of the things
Interesting.
that's highlighting. So it's really important to know what's happening around you and community so that you can be in support of it. But thank you. You've always done that to bring it up, especially in places where you know people do it. I
Yeah.
appreciate you for
Good.
that
Yeah.
practice. Really good practice. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
You're missing your land of wood and water. Oh, that's because you're not on the
Yeah,
island.
well,
That's
I'm
why.
not on the
Yeah. Yeah.
island right now, you know?
Yep.
But that's
Yep.
okay because we have the Miccosukee people, we have the Yega people land that I'm on specifically in the area of South Florida that I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
name it specifically so people can't find me.
Right. And I'm in to honor our own folks here where I am. I'm in Bridgeport, Connecticut, aka the land of the Paugussett Golden Hill tribal lands. So, and I've wanted to. I've wanted to go in search of there is a reservation for the Pagosset Golden Hill tribe, but it is tiny. They have shrunk it down over the course of history to where it is literally less than an acre. It's a house plot, and there's a house on the land, and that is I'm using air quotes for those that might listen later on, is the reservation for the Pagosset Golden Hill tribe. That's the only land that they have left. And I want to do, that's an intention that I'm setting for myself in the coming years. I want to learn more about that because I know that my ancestors directly appropriated and colonized this land in the state of Connecticut, especially. All those years ago. So that's something that I want to learn more about and get involved in land back processes here in Connecticut. So y'all heard it here first. I'm putting it out into the ethers so that I can be held accountable for it. That's something that I want to dive into and learn more about. So
no, that's really good modeling, because as we're having kind of these land back campaigns and campaigns to restore 40 acres and a mule promises, and all the promises to Indigenous people, is important for people to be aware of that, especially if you are a part of generations of folks that were in the oppression and robbery of people's lives and lifestyles. So it's good to acknowledge it, and it's good to be just curious about how you can give back in those spaces. I think that's really important. So thank you for that consideration and that modeling. That's important work.
Do you have any one particular episode that jumps out at you that you, who's trying to get a hold of you?
I have no idea. And I thought that I turned everything off. So I'm like, wait a minute. Say again, you're asking.
I was curious if there was one particular episode. I know you spoke to the episodes that were leading up to the election and how some of those were difficult. I know you also brought up the one that we did very early on. In fact, I think that might have been our second episode, so only available on audio. But the conversation that we went over, the resignation letter of my great grandfather, just one great grandfather who was the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in North Carolina. So I have a copy of his resignation letter. And if you go to our website or you go to our link tree in any of our different platform profiles, I've got the resignation letter in PDF form on our link tree so that you can read it yourself if you want to. But is there anything else that stands out for you? Any other episode? I know those were maybe painful, but
not in particular. I mean, I love that we are able to have our conversations and then come up with some really great titles for our episodes that really speak into like what it is that we are addressing as our content. So even in that, I enjoy it. But specifically that episode, do you have one? Help me out here.
Well, one of the things, I mean, I mentioned the first episode, our introductory, but we've done actually 4 episodes, because we did 2 parts for each one, were the movie talks.
Yes.
We did on the first movie we talked about was the American Society of the Magical Negro, and we did 2 episodes on that.
The other day. Yeah. Magical Negro.
Yeah, I know. And my white tears meter was doing the thing. And then the other episode, well, we did 2 parts on the They Cloned Tyrone movie. And I found those intriguing. The movies themselves were super intriguing. And hopefully folks out there after listening or watching our episodes felt compelled to watch them, watch the movies and draw their own kind of conclusions and thought processes about that. But those were fun to do. So.
I love watching the movies, and that's actually like a fun exercise because we definitely had different perspectives as we were enjoying the movies.
We did.
And it's also fun to have your friends watch a movie and then say, what did you get out of that?
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm curious about doing, because we cannot see if there are people watching us on Instagram. So I'm going to look as you're talking and see if I can
Oh,
see
okay.
what's going on the actual site.
Okay. Well, you know, this is our first time. Well, not our first time going live. We did go live on election day. So this isn't our first time going live, but it's our first time doing it through this particular platform and doing it in both YouTube and Instagram at the same time. And so we want to hear from our listeners, and for anybody that might be watching the replay, drop it in the comments if you want to see more lives from us, if we want to do this more often, because right now we record everything ahead of time and drop it on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern. But yeah, we'd love to know if people think that this live interactive space, it would be a good one, and give us
And
your
we'd love
thoughts.
to be more interactive with folks and have people kind of weigh in on some of the content that we're talking about and weigh in on some of the comments that we're making as we're in communication with each other. It's fun to be in I love people watching when I'm out in the streets.
Yes.
Anyway, but how fun is it to like be able to be a fly on the wall when folks are having a conversation and throw your 2 cents in?
Yeah.
I do that a lot. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we did drop an episode this morning because Tuesdays are our days. But we thought that this being our 2-year anniversary, what is there anything that particularly that you can, on reflection, I'm throwing this at you, so I don't know if you have anything that comes to mind, but how doing this podcast has maybe grown you or expanded you at all?
Well, it's always good to be expanded in friendship. So the thing that I appreciate about you and I is that there is intentional time that we make to be in communication with each other.
Yes.
Now, I have my friends that I talk to, you know, but this is like an intentional conversation to like really go over how we are experiencing the impact of the world. And I don't know how many people have that practice in their life where they sit down and say, okay, there's another human being that I'm actually going to talk to about what I'm thinking about, how I'm being impacted, and what I feel. And so expanded in that way, like making an actual conscious and intentional effort to be in conversation. I think that that's important, an important practice that people can incorporate into their lives. I also am always excited to learn how we are being received, like who's receiving us. So like, you know, if someone is listening in China, we don't have any interaction with them, but I'm curious as to what is interesting to them. And so it makes me think about what people are doing in China a little bit more than I might typically have, because it's just not in my in my environment at all. So that always expands me. It takes me to other places and lands, and curious about if people are having these type of conversations and or what they're thinking about the US and how, you know, people are integrating all of the madness that we are giving to the world.
Yes, so much. Yeah, I guess that's what you were just talking about the expansion of, for me, it's about like paying attention to what's happening outside of the US, even though I do that anyway. I think the podcast has caused me to be more intentional about that, because I want to know, let me say this. I think it's actually brought to mind that I am so USian focused, more so than I think I thought I was. So I know that we've said this in episodes plenty of times, that a lot of times we're looking at this through a US lens. I'm in the US and you're here, one foot in, one foot out. And so we do know that we come from that lens because that's our lived experience in the moment. But I think I thought I was more aware of what other people might be experiencing on the ground before this podcast. I think I thought I was more aware than I actually maybe was. So I've become more intentional about learning, trying to listen to the voices of the people that are on the ground. Like, you know, when October 7th happened, that's how I learned. I didn't know anything about Palestine. I didn't know anything about what was happening in the occupation and the apartheid state. And so I was on a very steep learning curve. And we've done episodes about that and about how that manifested for me. but I wanted to listen to voices from Palestine. And so I was very intentional about trying to grow my algorithms, on the different socials to be listening to voices. Same can be said for when we started attacking Iran, us and the fake state. I wanted to hear from people that were on the ground in Iran, and that's very difficult, of course, because they've got a media blackout and they've got intentional reasons why they are not able to broadcast as much. And so yeah, I think that's grown me in the course of the 2 years of, maybe I thought I was a little more dialed into what was happening in the world, but now I feel like I actually am more so than I was.
Yeah, it does. It helps you to be more intentional about what's going on. And so
yeah,
it's good. It's important. It's important practice for us to be aware of each other. And we're recognizing that there's 3 folks watching us. And so thank you for, joining us on this conversation on the first time that we're going live. We are celebrating our 2-year anniversary of YDIGAF. Why do I give a fuck? And you're welcome to put a comment in the comment section and let us know whether or not you listen to us often, or if you're just coming along because we've gone live. We're trying to see if this is like another medium that we would like to incorporate into this conversation that we've been having for the last 2 years with each other. And I did go and check on Instagram. It doesn't look like we are actually live on Instagram.
Oh, really?
So,
Interesting.
Yeah. So
well, it's telling us we are, so I don't know. I don't know. This is our first time doing it, so
I don't know if you can see the. But it's just
can't. Yeah, it's all blanked out. You know what it may be, because I also have Instagram open, but I may need to go to my personal thread and see if the live shows up on your little stories thing at the upper thing. So, but it says I'm live, but yeah, but I don't know. Like I said, this is our first time doing this, and we're utilizing StreamYard now, and which is a great platform, but it there's lots of moving parts, and you don't always know that you've checked all the right boxes and done all the right things.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you all.
Yeah, we really appreciate all of the feedback, all of the comments, and just another plug. If you are watching us on YouTube, you've gotten to the point where you're starting to find us on YouTube more, please like and subscribe and set your notifications so that if we decide that we're going to start going live more often, then maybe we can, you'll get a notification and you can show up and come and join us in the chat. So
yeah, and if you think these are some worthy conversations, please share it with your community of people and ask them to subscribe and listen when they have the opportunity to. Absolutely. We appreciate you all. Let us know what you give a fuck about, because we want to hear everybody in this conversation.
Yes, we give a fuck about all of you, actually, and that's why.
Are we allowed to say those things on the technology on Instagram and YouTube?
So. Okay. Well, we don't run ads. I think once we start running ads, we have to be more mindful of our language. But that's what I've. In my limited research, that's what I found out. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll find out. So, all right, my friends.
Thank you so much.
Happy Tuesday. Happy second
anniversary. Thank you for those of you who joined us live, and let us know if we should do it often. All right.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, as you move throughout your day, continue to ask yourself,
Why Do I Give a Fuck is produced in collaboration with Johanna and Deanne. Music by Norwegian musician Water. See you next time.